For your first programming project, I'm going to have you write a bash shell script that creates a web page out of the contents of a directory specified on the command line. So what I thought I'd do is kind of get you bootstrapped, show you some of the basic commands we're going to use, and kind of get you started on the script. So I went ahead and created a directory called dir2html, and I'm going to work on it in this particular directory. So I'm going to use Emacs and go ahead and create my script. I'm going to use the .sh extension so that Emacs recognizes that I'm dealing with a shell script. All right. So remember, when we write a bash shell script, the first thing we want to do on the first line, we always want to do #bang and then the path of the program that's interpreting the script in a fully qualified path. So in this case, that's bin bash. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to inspect the number of arguments that the user gives me on the command line. And so bash has a built-in special variable for this that's called $hash. So let me just start by just showing you $hash. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Control S, Control X, Control S. So now I've noticed my buffer saved, and so now let's just go ahead and run this script. So now, if you notice, if I do an ls-l, you can see the executable bit is not set. So to make sure the script is runnable, I'm going to set the executable bit on this file. So now you'll see it. Now you can see that it's not just read write, but read write execute, and read execute for everyone else. All right. So let's go ahead and run the script. So notice, if I provide no command line arguments, it outputs 0. If I output a bunch of arguments, then in this case I have 3 command line arguments, so it outputs 3. So the more command line arguments I provide, here I provided 7, so it's going to print that out. So that's what the $, or the $$ special variable is. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that that is exactly equal to 1. So I'm going to use a bash if statement. So a bash if statement, if you remember, we're going to use our left square brace for our test, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the special variable $pound is indeed exactly equal to 1. So if it's not equal to 1, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out an error message. Now remember, all the white space you see here is very important. So I'm going to say if the number of command line arguments is not equal to 1, then I'm going to echo a usage statement to the user. So I'll say usage, and I'll say dir name. All right, and we'll echo, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the script immediately terminates by calling exit. I'm going to give it an exit code of 1. So if you remember, the convention is in the shell that any process that exits with an exit code of 0, that means no error. So any exit code other than 0 indicates an error. So I'm going to indicate this is an error condition. So I'm going to give an exit code with something that's non-0. Right. So then I'm going to go ahead and end my if statement with a phi. And so let's go ahead and save. Control X, Control S. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go ahead and run my script. And so you'll notice, if I say give exactly 1 command line argument, nothing happens. But if I give it more, then you can see I get my usage statement. Right? If I don't give any command line arguments, I also get my usage statement. So my script will actually exit, right, unless there's exactly 1. So here I could say echo got 1 command line arg, right? So you can see this work again. So notice, so got none. Here I got 1. Right, got none. So all right. So we can see that that's a good start for our script. All right. So now I'm going to show you some of the commands that we're going to use, and the first one that of interest is the find command. So if you look at the find command, what it does, as the name here in the description has here, it says walks a file directory. So find is a very powerful command. There's a lot of stuff you can do with find, and I use it all the time to just, of course, find stuff in my directory tree, which can get quite messy, but it's also useful for just printing out all the files recursively in a directory, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show some basic uses of the find command. So if I actually, let's say I want to say find $home, and then pipe that to more. So you can see what it's doing is, as I'm going through here, it's printing out all the files in all the subdirectories in my directory here. So this can go on and on and on and on. If I do it, and so $home is a shell variable for my home directory. Another way to do this is I could shorthand in the shell as a squiggly brace. So a squiggly brace is equivalent to home. So I could have done it that way as well. If I don't do the, so if I just do this, you can see this is just going to go through and dump everything. So I'm going to Control C that. So tons of stuff in my directory tree right now. So all right, so we're going to use the find command. So here's another thing. I might use the find command as another example. So the first thing you do is you give it the directory of where to begin, and you can also give it other options, like if I want to look for all the header files in user include, I can actually say print them out, and I'll pipe that to more. So you can see this is printing out all the header files under user include. You'll find that useful. So anyway, so we'll talk much more about the find command. So I'm going to show you how to use the find command. But before I do, I want to show you a couple other commands first before we move on in our script. You've already seen the echo command. You could say Fred was at home. You can see that prints out the string Fred was and then expands the variable $home. So the echo is useful. There's one command to echo. We can say -n, right? And then the difference here you'll notice is, notice my prompt is not on the next line. So the -n means don't print a new line afterwards, right? So and echo, kind of another thing we can do is I can say read foo, and this will actually read a string. So if I say Jojo lives here or something like this, right? And so you can see now if I say echo foo, what that did, read actually read that, what from standard input, it read a string and stored the result in a variable. So we can, so you notice echo actually allows us to echo a variable to standard output, and read allows us to read information from standard input and capture that particular variable. So it's pretty useful. So so you can combine this with a while loop. I could do something like, I could say while read f. So this is going to keep reading a line at a time. Let's say I want to do something. I could say do, and then what I'll do is I'll say echo $f, and what I'll do is I'll translate all lowercase characters to uppercase or something like that. And let's see, done. So you can see this while command was actually typed in on multiple lines. You can see that I got a little bit different prompt that shows me that I'm doing. But anyway, it's waiting for me to enter something. So I can type a line here, and you can see what it did is it read that into the variable f, which I then I echoed it through translate, which converted it to uppercase. So I'm going to go ahead and exit. Yeah, so I'm going to hit Control D, and that ends that command. So that's the while command. So while will read from, in this case, I'm doing the read from standard input, and the while loop's going to loop until read returns a non-zero exit code when it's done. So all right, so let's actually use this in combination. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. So what I'm going to do is I want to get the contents of this directory. Let's just print out the contents of the directory one line at a time. We actually want to copy the name of each file in a variable. So one way to do this is use the find command. So I'm going to run the find command, and I want the first command line argument, right? Oh, by the way, my usage, I forgot to print out, I should have said $0, by the way. That was an error on my part. Let me show you what that does. So when I say, So when I say dir to HTML and I give it the wrong number command line arguments, notice it prints out the name, the usage, and then the name of the script, right? So $0 here is the name of the script. All right, so $1 is actually the name of the first command line argument. So if I say find $1, which I'm assuming is a directory name, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in that directory and I'm going to do a while read f, and then I'm going to do something, right? So here's my loop. So in this particular case, I'm going to start by just echoing $f. All right, we'll start with that, and let's start with that. So Control X, Control S, and then let's see how this works. So I'm going to run dir HTML on my home directory, and then I'll pipe the output to more. So you can see what this is doing is just find is going through and printing everything out. It's going through my variable f and just echoing it out, right? I could convert everything to uppercase, for example. I convert everything just to do something different here. I could convert these all to uppercase. All right, let's try that out. All right, so notice here everything turns out to be in uppercase. Here, Control C. Control C, get me out. Yeah, Control C. Yeah, foreground. All right. So, okay, so we're kind of getting an idea. Now, what happens if find is not a directory name? What happens? If I do something like foo, right? This thing's going to die. Find is going to die. Obviously, if that's not a directory, we could actually test for this. We could say if I could say now we can do different kinds of tests. If I want to test whether something is a directory, I can do a -d and then $1, and then what I can say is then we've got a problem. I'll say we haven't got a problem yet. I'll say $1 is a directory, else I'll say is not a directory. So let's try this out and see what happens. So if I say foo, it'll say foo is not a directory. And in that particular, so let's go ahead and just quit the script right here, just so we don't see the next part. So you can see foo is not a directory, but my home directory is a directory. Right? So we can actually test for that. Actually, what I want to do is I want to print out an error message if it's not a directory. So I can actually do a not on the test. So that changes the sense of the test. And then what I'm going to do then is say, I'm going to go ahead and print a message here that this is not a directory. Is not a directory, and then I'm going to exit. Here I'll exit with a different error code. I'll exit with error code 0, right? So let's see what happens if I run with foo now. It'll say foo in this case is not a directory. All right, so there we go. So we'll make sure that that's a directory before we move on. By the way, I like to get more stuff on one line, so you'll often see people, to get this then up on the next line, what I'll do is I'll put a semicolon here and move it up to the next line. So there we go. I could do the same thing with the do and put the do up here as well. That kind of, so we can see things should still work. Oops. So yeah, all right, cool. And if I give it something that is a home directory, yeah, you can see that's still working. Control C, Control C, Control C. There we go. All right, great. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, and we'll pick up in the next video.